This is Will Cowing for Adaptive Chicago Productions. And once more, we're on the road, but disability is found everywhere. And our disability issue today, and what is our disability issue today?
Depression.
Depression. And our guest is?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. And you have had depression for quite some time, haven't you?
Yes. It started very young in life.
Okay, now you trace that back to some events that happened in your youth, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what was that, if you want to talk about it?
When I was very young, I was molested by a brother who died when I was 13.
Oh my gosh.
And after he died, I had a hard time coping with it because I couldn't face my accuser in that sense of the person that I accused, and he was gone. So a lot of my life, I didn't realize I was in depression until after my second child was born. And while I was pregnant with my second child, I had been sexually assaulted, and I went to a program called Pittsburgh Action Against Rape. And at that point, I discovered that maybe it was more than just that incident that I was upset with. And I went to the local psych hospital, and where they didn't pronounce me depressed, but they said that I had major depression and borderline personality disorder.
All right, now, you really weren't aware of this until they made that announcement, were you?
No, I was not aware of it as a child. As a teenager, I used to run long distances, and I would come home and sleep all afternoon after practice and before dinner, and then I'd eat dinner and sleep, constantly sleeping all the time.
Oh, okay.
So as I look back at that, I realized that I must have been depressed at that point because of the symptoms were there.
Now, when was medication actually prescribed for you?
After my second child was born.
And who made the diagnosis? Was it a doctor that?
Yes, I went to a psychiatric hospital and was inpatient. And when I was inpatient, they tried different medications. And now I am 61 years old after having been on medications for 40 years. A lot of them are not working for me anymore.
Or are you taking any that you do think are working?
Well, one I think works a little bit, but the other one that they just put me on, I'm not sure is capable of handling, how strong my depression gets.
Well, how strong do you think it does get now? Is it the same as it was, or it's getting worse again?
It's getting pretty bad because I get in the states of being very suicidal. When I was younger, I didn't think about suicide because I had children to worry about and, things like that. Just life was happening. But as now an adult, I feel very lonely. I feel isolated. I have a lot of problems with, getting along with everybody and doing different things. So the depression's pretty strong at this point.
So has anybody suggested that you work with other people and find something that really interests you that might help you with the depression?
I've had that recommendation quite a few times.
Oh, okay.
I have, in my experiences, I have been a peer support specialist. And I have worked in the system and worked alongside of caregivers to help my peers and helping them get through a lot of their circumstances. That helped me to a point until it became so overwhelming to me that I had a nervous breakdown. And I just went into a deep depression because I can't go back to work without losing all my benefits. I can't go back to work part-time because that too would lose all my benefits. The work didn't pay enough to cover what the government's actually taking care of me with. So that makes it harder for my life.
So the very things that might help you, you can't participate in because then you will lose the just the ability to have enough money to eat and everything else. And
Right.
oh, that's too bad.
I can't blame it on any particular thing, but
Now, where are you staying?
right now I live at Paul Wolk Commons. In an apartment program, I'm in what's called cognitive care.
Okay.
And that means I have my own individual apartment and I make my own meals, I take care of myself, I go to my own appointments. But when it comes time for me to take my medications, I'm still required to go down to the office to ask them to take care of my medications. I have had trouble in the past where I don't remember if I've taken them and I've taken too much, or I don't take them for several days and it causes more symptoms to arise.
Is there any way out of this where the people come in and see that you take the medication, or you put the medication in a little box of some kind, so you know that you've taken it?
Right now, we do that. Every week I use a packer box that has all the days of the weeks and 4 times a day. I only take medicine 3 times a day, so I have noon off. But the other days, other times, it's in the packer. I am now starting to get a little more independence where they're allowing me to take, when I take my morning meds, to take my evening with me and take another little packer thing for my evening meds, and I will use that when during the evening time when it's time for me to take it. I've set up a system so that my cell phone, which is also government issued, is helping me out by ringing an alarm at 5 o'clock so I'll remember those evening meds. And then when I go to bed, I go down there and give them back the packer, and it should be empty.
Well, there are some positive things then going on.
It's starting to get a little better.
That's good to hear, because I think part of this is trying to emphasize the positive as much as you can. And I don't know if I'm a good person to give advice, but it sounds like there is some way out, we hope.
Well, I hope so too.
Is there any last comments you'd like to make?
I don't like depression. It's not one of my favorite things. I think it's very important for people to understand that people that have depression aren't doing it to get attention, to try and make themselves more superior than anybody else. It doesn't work that way. This is something that's happened from instances in my life that causes me to feel down, and I can't change it. I'm working to find ways to live with it, and that's what's helping me realize that life can be worth living.
Well, thank you very much, and that was a very interesting and positive message that you just gave. I think a lot of people will really appreciate it, so we thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Will Cowing back again. We are still continuing with our research on depression, and we have a guest now, Steve. All right, and you have suffered from severe depression, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And I want to go back to when did you, as a child, you didn't have anything particular problems? No events that you can look back on that might be lurking in your subconscious, as they say?
Not really. I mean, both my parents worked. I come from a good home. There was like some alcoholism in the family, I never really thought about it like that. So I had a pretty good upbringing.
Okay, well, some people feel there's events in the past that you can trace back that, I don't know if I agree or not, but you said that later on, as you went through your teen years, you'll be into alcohol and chemical dependency.
Yeah, I tried to bury the feelings that I had. I felt like I didn't get enough attention as a child, and I would always, act out, because my sister got all the attention. So, that kind of made me angry. So I became kind of a class clown, you would say, and I would use comedy to get attention from people and, to let other people, make them laugh so that I didn't feel so bad about what was going on inside of me.
Well, did you ever go into acting? Did you ever act in a play or anything?
Yeah, actually, I did in high school. I tried all kinds of things. I played football. I took ballet. I'm an artist. I'm a dancer. I took acting classes in high school. So I've tried to become a jack of all trades just to find something that will make these feelings not so intense from time to time.
Well, this is part of your personality. You have these talents, and the use of these talents sometimes is, I don't know how to put it. It's just a little different from the average person, and you feel, well, that's good and not always so good.
Yeah, sometimes I don't find happiness in doing the things that I'm really good at. You know, it's because of the depression, and it wasn't until later in life when I stopped drinking and burying those feelings that the real feelings started coming really hard, and that's when I was diagnosed with mania and severe depression.
Now, who did the diagnosing?
A doctor named Joanne Streb at Genesee Mental Health.
All right, now what caused you to be in the hospital that she made?
Well, I started going through like really bad bouts of depression. I would be home. I wouldn't want to get out of bed for 2, 3 weeks at a time.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was horrible. I didn't want to leave my house. I was always nervous, or I could be in a crowd full of people and feel so alone that I would have to hide from people to cry because I felt that bad. And eventually I just worked up the courage to go and sign myself up to see a doctor. And I had to go in for quite a few therapy sessions before they diagnosed me. So
What did they do in the therapy sessions?
they pretty much just asked me a bunch of questions about my childhood, like we're doing now, just an interview. And it took about 6 months of going there and them just constantly asking me all these things, and then trying me on different medications to kind of lower the tension or the depression or whatever I was going through at the time. And I mean, they tried me on 30 different medications until I actually found a combination that worked for me. And, it doesn't work for everybody.
But so eventually you found, this is what most people who have depression should do. They should find a medication that works for them. I think you're saying that.
Well, sometimes it can work in different ways. I mean, medications aren't always good for some people. Therapy is good. I do recommend pet therapy, though. That is one thing. I mean, just animal fur alone feels good enough to like make you feel better.
Oh, pet therapy.
Yes.
Oh, what kind of a pet? A dog, a cat, or both, or?
Anything that you prefer. I have a Chihuahua and a cat.
Oh,
so.
wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, that's a very good idea. Sometimes people get carried away with it, but
Yeah, I'm not going to collect 40 cats,
Oh.
but I'm working on it slowly, and it's the sessions with my therapist. I actually have two therapists. The pet therapy, I get that at home when I can pet my animals and stuff, and the medication. Sometimes it's just a combination of things, and not the same thing works for the same people all the time.
no, okay, but it's working for you. Do you feel, as long as you're taking your medication, that this is helping you?
Oh, absolutely. It took a while for me to actually find a combination that worked, but I finally did. So I actually, I do have a friend too that kind of helped me like break out of my shell a little bit and get out more and just be a little bit more outgoing and not worry about depression so much, because they actually make me kind of happy when I'm around them. So
Oh, yeah, that's a very good suggestion. If you find positive things from a friend and that, and it keeps your mind off your depression.
yeah.
Okay, very good. And you're staying, where are you staying now?
Currently I'm at Alexander House. It's like a halfway house for people that have had drug and alcohol addictions, and they have counselors on 24 hours a day.
Okay.
And they have people to help you with your medication if you need it. Me personally, I don't need the help, but it's always good to have some sort of structure in your life as well.
Oh,
you know.
good, good. Well, that's been a very good interview, and we thank you for your insights. Are there any last comments you'd like to make?
I'd like to thank you for having me, and I want people to know that there is help out there. You don't always have to feel sad. It's just a phone call away. You can pet an animal. There's plenty of things that you can do to help lift your spirits. So,
Oh, thank you, thank you.
all right, thank you.
All right. Now for our final interview, our third interview, we have Kelly. Now, when did you realize that you had depression?
I noticed that from childhood. I started like not really wanting to go outside. I always wanted to stay in my room a lot and not really interact with the other kids.
Did you trace this back to any incidents in your childhood? You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but do you feel that might be something that started this at the beginning?
I think so. My grandmother died suddenly when I was 8 years old, and it just after that it kept going all to my great grandparents, and then I've had a lot of deaths in the family. So
Oh, okay. Well, that's not good. Let's put it that way. So now, as you grew up, did the depression get worse, or what happened?
me and my mom were just starting to be okay after my grandma had passed away because she had helped raise me because my dad wasn't in the picture. And after she died suddenly, it turned my mom into like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this kind of thing. But we were just starting to be okay. It was like 10-year anniversary. And then like few months after that, then my mom passed away on me.
Oh.
So I really don't. Yeah.
So who did you go to, who took care of you then? Grandparents or great-grandparents or uncles or what?
Well, at first I stayed with one of my mom's friends.
Oh, okay.
And then she kind of abandoned me.
I shouldn't be asking.
Yeah. But then I moved down here with my uncle and my grandfather.
Okay. And then eventually you started feeling depressed, right? It just, when did it start to get to the point where you needed help?
I noticed it when I started going to college. I thought everything was okay, that, I was just little ticks here and there. But then as I started going to school, things started getting worse. And I had a lot of stress and things, and that's when I realized that I needed to go to my therapist.
And what did the therapist tell you? What did they try out to begin with?
They tried me on a low dose of medicine, and then as the years kind of progressed, some things I kept falling, like when it comes to anniversaries and things. Anniversaries are really hard for me. So what my therapist says is to not be home that day, to go out, to, go to the park or something to keep my mind off of it.
That sounds like good advice. But did the depression increase then as the years went on, or did the medication seem to help it?
I still feel emptiness. Like in pretty much a lot of things that I do. Like even like fun things, like if we go to the zoo, I recognize that I go to the zoo, and I understand that it's a fun thing, but it's still like an empty glass. There's nothing there.
Where do you get this analogy of the empty glass? That's interesting. Do you feel that way yourself about yourself? You do.
Yeah, I feel like I'm there, but there's nothing.
Well, what would you like to do to fill up that empty glass? What would fill up that empty glass?
I've been trying to find ways. I've been doing like mindfulness exercises
That's
and
a good
things.
one.
Yeah, it's trying to kind of, let things smooth out a little bit. I know playing my piano really helps me.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, good. I can show you a mindfulness exercise afterwards.
Okay.
All right, but now where are you staying?
I'm also staying at Powwoke.
Okay.
It's through another cognitive therapy or cognitive level 2. It teaches me how to live on my own, how to be independent. And when I have those rough days, when I feel depressed, to help me with my exercises and things, and if I need a therapist or somebody.
Now, do they check to see that you take the medication, or are you on your own when you do that?
I just got on my own. In the beginning, it's 3 months. We had to wait 3 months from when we moved in. to make sure so they know our personalities and things. And then as they start kind of getting to know you, they start kind of talking to you a little bit, and then we start talking about doing things one at a time, then three, and then the whole week and stuff like that. So they kind of wean you onto being independent.
And you feel this is working then?
I think so, yes.
Oh, good. Would you say you have depressive episodes of depression less often now?
Yes, now that I have my friend.
Oh, good. Now that's a very important thing, to have friends. All right, so.
Yes, and my boys.
All right. Now, is there any other last comment you'd like to make?
Mindfulness does work, guys, and I'm not lying to you. It really does. And with also, when you don't think that you don't need a therapist, it really, you
do.
Yeah.
And it's basically, that is a positive message to end on then. All right, and very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
3, until you get to 10. And think of nothing while you're doing it. Only
It's hard because I'm doing the breathing and I'm counting in the breathing in.
I know it's hard. That's why you do it. Eventually you get control of your mind, so you can go to 10 without thinking about anything except the numbers. That's it. Sometimes people do this and they're at 150 before they realize what they're going, and you're on 11, 12, and so on. You got to 10, you start go. It's a very simple thing, but it's much more difficult than it looks like. It's a Zen exercise, you're getting Zen exercise. So you can try that. Okay.